I am in Vienna, Austria. And in this video we'll visit some important locations related to the musical and architectural history of the city, including the Stadtpark and Karlsplatz.
They're the ones that they couldn't train or whatever, who were too passive, and so you actually get...
There are plenty of horse-drawn carriages meandering through the streets of Imperial Vienna. The horses even wear little earmuffs. Those look like devil horns. That is the Albertina Palace, now home to perhaps my favorite museum in Vienna. It contains an excellent modern art exhibit and print collection. I have videos on the Albertina if you want to check that out. This is the Memorial Against War and Fascism on the Albertina Platz. The main section of the memorial is the Gate of Violence, honoring victims of war and those murdered by the National Socialists. There's also this kneeling Jew, depicting a chained Jewish man scrubbing the pavement with a nail brush, which did happen here. That is the Haus der Musik, a museum about Vienna's rich musical heritage. However, I did not have time to visit that. I spied a space invader. It looks like they have invaded Vienna from Paris. That's awesome. Here's an entrance to the Stadtpark, perhaps the most famous park in Vienna, as it has some monuments to composers. The Stadtpark was the first public park in Vienna. It was created after the demolition of the city walls and their replacement with the Ringstrasse in the mid-19th century. The Vienna River, or Wienfluss, meanders through the park. It's a tributary of the Danube. These pavilions and walkways around the Vienna River were built between 1903 and 1907. There are sculptures depicting the Four Seasons. That is the Kursalon Hübner, a music hall built in the 1860s within the Stadtpark, where Johann Strauss II did some early concerts. I'm not sure what's going on out front with all the people dressed in black. That's kinda weird. Across from the Kursalon Hübner is the Strauss Monument. Johann Strauss II, composer of the Blue Danube and many other iconic waltzes, is definitely one of the most beloved composers who called Vienna home. The Waltz King passed away in 1899, and in 1921, this wonderfully unique monument was unveiled here at the Stadtpark. The gilded statue of Strauss playing the violin is framed by a marble relief. This is an English garden style park, which was extremely popular in the 19th century. That is an original weather station for the park. There's the monument to Franz Schubert. That's a statue of Hans Cannon, a 19th century portrait and historical painter. A little ways from the Stadtpark is the Beethoven statue. Ludwig van Beethoven did live and die here in Vienna. This monument was erected here in 1880, 53 years after the great composer's death. Beethoven sits on a pedestal surrounded by all sorts of symbolic figures. Many of these are references to his operas and ballets. The Vienna Akademisches Gymnasium stands on the Beethovenplatz. It was built in 1866 and many important Austrians were students here, such as the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Erwin Schrödinger, considered the father of quantum mechanics. There are also 3 granite slabs outside. These were removed from the Nazi Party parade grounds in Nuremberg. These pieces of stone were quarried by Jewish prisoners at a concentration camp. That is the Academy Theater, designed by Fellner and Helmer just before the outbreak of the Great War. Over there is the Soviet Army Monument, which I feature in a separate video. This is the Carlskirche, one of the most fantastic Baroque churches in Europe. The Carlskirche was started in 1713 to honor a religious vow, and it was completed in 1737. It was commissioned by Kaiser Karl VI, so it's not a coincidence it's the Karlskirche, to commemorate the end of the last Black Plague outbreak. Unfortunately, the plague came back and hit Vienna hard in 1735, just before the church was completed. It was designed by the Habsburgs court architect Johann Bernhard Fischer von Erlach, who also worked on Schönbrunn Palace and the State Hall of the Austrian National Library, which I have videos on. But this is a unique Baroque hybrid with Greek, Roman, and Byzantine elements as well. Notice the classical portico is flanked by 2 giant triumphal columns covered by friezes. Yes, these are based on Trajan's column in Rome, but instead of depicting military victories, these columns tell the story of Saint Charles Borromeo. These columns are supposed to be reminiscent of the columns that stood in front of Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem. There's a weird revolving door mirror installation on the Karlsplatz. It's pretty fun. Now, I was planning on going inside and visiting the Karlskirche, however it now costs 10 euros to get in, which I thought was a bit expensive. So I'll probably visit the next time I'm in Vienna. Adjacent to the Karlskirche is the location where the great Baroque composer Antonio Vivaldi was buried on July 28, 1741, in the public hospital cemetery, atop which the Vienna University of Technology was built in the 19th century. And before their success as musicians, Johann and Joseph Strauss studied here at the Polytechnic Institute over Vivaldi's grave. This is the Siegfried Marcus Monument. You've probably never heard of him, but evidence would suggest that he is the true inventor of the automobile. He was likely the first person to ever gear a combustion engine to a set of 4 wheels in order to make it go, way back in 1864. Before Benz and Daimler, he was considered an Austrian national hero in the early 20th century. However, he has largely been erased from history since World War II because he was Jewish. The Nazis destroyed records of his work and erased his name from textbooks, and largely succeeded in writing him out of history. Well, I guess this is technically a college campus. The Technical University Library has interesting sculptures on it. That is the Secession. This striking building was a manifesto of the Vienna Secession, the city's famed establishment bucking art movement. This unusual structure was built in 1898 to house exhibitions of the Secession artists, including Gustav Klimt, Koloman Moser, Josef Hoffmann, Otto Wagner, and the architect of this building, Josef Ulbrich. Perhaps its most eye-catching feature is the cupola. Known as the Golden Cabbage, it is composed of 2,500 gilded iron laurel leaves. I also like the turtles holding up the mosaic pots. This is still an exhibition space, and Klimt's Beethoven frieze is inside, but I did not have time to visit. Outside there's the Mark Anton sculpture by Arthur Strasser, depicting Mark Antony in the chariot being pulled by lions. This 1899 sculpture was exhibited at the Paris World's Fair of 1900. This is Cafe Sperl, a classic Viennese cafe that originally opened in 1880. Vienna maintains a strong tradition in its coffee houses and cafes. It is actually designated by UNESCO as intangible cultural heritage. This is the Medallion House, one of the two neighboring Link Viennese buildings designed by Otto Wagner in the Vienna Secession style. Wagner designed these wonderful buildings between 1898 and 99. The Medallion House is decorated by gilded stucco medallions by Koloman Moser, a younger Secession artist and student of Wagner. Right next to it is the famous Mojolica House. The entire facade of this apartment building is covered with Mojolica, which are colorful glazed tiles and floral designs. That is amazing. Now, the flower tiles all over the building are not just decorative. Mojolica actually allows for the facade of the building to be easily cleaned with fire hoses. The detail on this building is mind-boggling. The Otto Wagner architecture is so fantastic. There's even a Wagner-designed U-Bahn station nearby. So I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough of Vienna. If you did, then make sure to check out my many other episodes featuring Vienna's history, architecture, and museums. I also have videos on cities and far out locations across Europe and the United States. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel for more. Thanks for watching!